Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss on the topic to prepare for Oracle Fusion Procurement Cloud. Uh, we used to face a lot of interviews, but we don't prepare for those topics which are must. We should go through these topics. So let me start on those topics. So there are a few prerequisite setups that we need for procurement, like we need to create location, we need to create user, specifically employee user. If you don't create employee user, it won't allow you to create any of the transaction. Then you need to assign roles, then you need to create your business units. Obviously you need to have that business unit. Then once you have business unit, you need to enable this, which business function that business unit is going to perform, like purchasing, receiving, what all business functions, and from where it is associated to which ledger and legal entity. You will come to know from this. Then you need to create item organization, then inventory organization, then you need to create item. If you want to create requisitions using or transaction using item, then these are the required setups. Then you need to create a unit of measure, then configure requisition business function. To create a requisition, this is the basic part, basic setup you need to do. Then you need to create catalog, then you need to create content zone, pull that catalog in that content zone. Then you need to create category as task is functional area catalog. Then you need to create TAD. We call it TAD, we call it tab, transaction account definition, from where accounts are getting generated, getting pulled up on the requisition on the PO. So that is the TAD. Then business unit set assignment. As I told you, we create a business unit and we go for assign business function. Similarly, we need to set assignment. If we are not using the common set on BU definition, then the set we use on the BU definition, it gets defaulted to all the functions. So now we need to go and update the set assignment using this task. Then document numbering, we need to have requisition number, then my PO number, BPA, agreement. All these numbers are defined here. Then supplier numbering, we have separate task. We need to define supplier number that can only be numeric. Then comes approval. Every transaction have approvals, which are different approvals. We need to configure different tasks. Then we have few profile options for each of the submodules, as we have 6 submodules in procurement: our self-service procurement, our purchasing, then comes our supplier portal, then negotiation, which is sourcing, then come procurement contract and the supplier portal. So enabling offering, we need to enable the offering, and we have a concept of opt-in features as well. So we should be aware of that as well. Then costing, basic idea should be there. And if inventory is not being implemented anywhere, then at least we should be aware of receipt accounting. Then in self-service procurement, we these the advanced procurement requester is the role we assign. Procurement preparer and procurement requester are additional roles which we can work with. Then we create requisition, catalog and non-catalog type requisitions. Then catalog, we create the definition that we defined earlier. Those catalogs, those are local or punch out catalog, or it can be information only. Then we have concept of smart forms as well, where we have some additional information template. If we want to, we can go to that extended functionality as well. Then content zone, then punch out setups. We do punch out setups in our catalog we define. In addition to that, we need to do a map set setup as well for punch out. It's Excel file downloaded and gets updated. It's a spreadsheet something. Then map set setup can be dependent on the UMs or category or supplier. For category, I can say, let's say we have a punch out with Amazon. Amazon says some other category 1011 something, and we call it a computer accessory. So this category mapping needs to be done in this map set when we go for this punch out setup. I have a good video on this. You can go through that. Requisition approvals, then approvals will fall for everything for every transaction. But yeah, let me tell you, approval groups we should be aware of. We have job level hierarchy, position level hierarchy, supervisor hierarchy, worker. See, worker means individual, can be approver, it can be project manager, it can be, there are a lot of different elements that we can select. These are the actions that we can do. We have a lot of conditions. We can create rule based on the business requirement. Then next is stop purchasing. We have role as buyer, procurement manager. Procurement agent is the basic element that we need to create for any of the purchasing transactions, and configure procurement business function is the task that we need to configure if we want to use the purchasing module. Then line type, we by default we have something two-way, then we custom requirement comes, then we by default it should be three-way. So that is the way, this is the point where we configure that this is the goods line type, three-way, it's getting defaulted, it comes from there, purchasing line type. Then document style, we used to work on purchase order, blanket purchase agreement, contract purchase agreement. So this is a document style that we define. And if we want to define a complex PO style as well, we need to enable few of the additional elements like retainage and all. I have a complete video on complex PO. You can go through that as well. Change orders is a concept that we should be aware of, because interviewer can ask, and change orders can be a requester. That means a person who created a requisition can initiate a change order. Similarly, a buyer can change a PO, and similarly supplier can request, okay, I don't agree with you on this rates or delivery dates, I need some changes, so he will initiate that change order. So these are the different elements in the approval rules. We can capture this, whether it's a requester change order, buyer change order, supplier change order, and can align to them with different hierarchies. Then we have suppliers, we have prospective suppliers, spend authorized suppliers. We can do some spend things, that means invoicing P, we can utilize them on PO when we say spend authorized, but prospective, they can be used only on sourcing. Then supplier registration. We do supplier registration externally. That means we have certain links in procurement, configure procurement business function. We share with that with the external party, or we can register internally as well from the requisition page, from create or register, or from sourcing. We have 6, 7 different locations, or 5, 6 different locations from where we can register the supplier by internal users, or I should say request to register a supplier. Then site and site assignment is a additional element which usually being asked in interviews, that I am not able to create site. What will be the issue? You are not a procurement agent. If site assignment is not done, you created a supplier, you created site, but site assignment is not done, you will not be able to use it any of the PO transactions. So site assignment also plays an important role. Then service provider relationship. If your requisition BU and your purchasing BU is different, then you need to go with the service provider relationship setup. Otherwise, it's not required. ASL, approved supplier list. If you want all your purchases for this particular item or category should be done from a particular supplier list of supplier, then you need to create that in system. There is no way we upload ASL in normal purchasing until unless you have some supply planning thing. There we have a concept of loading this data, but if you don't have that module, you will not be able to load. Data load will not be possible. You need to come through a different route. You need to create a BPA, then a program will get to be executed, and then ASL can be created. Moving to next one, receiving and return to vendor is another thing which is usually asked. So it's receiving and manage receiving. When you go to manage receiving, either you correct it or you return it. So those options are there. Purchasing document approval, it means PO, BPA, CPA, all approvals can be defined in this task, purchasing document approval. We have various stages. Under those stages, we need to provide different rules. In rule, we have different conditions. Then we can have different actions. So we have supplier approvals. That is registration, internal, external. That means I mean to say supplier approval. We have supplier registration approval. Either it is being registered or by internal a team, or it's being registered by themselves from external link. Then profile change for a supplier also comes into picture, whether someone internal in your team can update that profile, or someone external party will be updating that. So that means supplier themselves updating something, and that will come to you. So we have different approvals for each elements, so we need to configure them. Then in sourcing, or we call it negotiation, we have this category catalog manager role. Then we have different types of negotiations, RFI, RFQ, auction. Most of the time, request for quotation RFQ is used, but you should be aware of what is RFI, what is auction. Then negotiation style, it's of standard style, two stage. Standard means we have commercial and technical round all together. In two stage, we have first technical round gets completed, then commercial comes into picture. So we have additional concept of sealed and blind being asked in interviews most of the time. When it's sealed, no one can see. When it's blind, everyone can see. So that's a reversal of few words. Next is negotiation template. We used to have lot of different type of negotiations and repetitive negotiations. So we suggest business to have negotiation templates for repetitive sourcing, repetitive negotiations that they are creating. So if they have template, they can just pull it out, and they no need to write lot of elements which we have in 7 to 8 rail stops. So we can create templates. We have questions. Questions are the elements on which we do the scoring. Then cost factors are the additional elements which we use to pull the exact cost. If we put the cost factor, that what is the freight, what is the additional tax can be there. So supplier can provide these values, and we can have the actual evaluation of the bid. Item attributes, it's a white color, or it's how much is weight, blue color. So all these are item attributes elements. Then there is a functionality of abstract. In abstract, what we can do without publishing, we have authored something in the our negotiation, and we want that external world should be aware of that something is coming. So we can publish this. We can publish the abstract before publishing the negotiation RFQ itself. We can publish the a small detail, one liner thing. So that is the abstract thing. Then we have negotiation approval, we have award approval. So then comes the supplier portal. In supplier portal, when supplier portal gets created or supplier login gets created, when we register a supplier and when its contact is created, and in that contract we have a functionality create user account. So once you create a user account, then only this supplier will be created. We have few supplier default supplier roles so that they can see something they can work upon, but these rules can be modified. Custom rules can be created, these rules can be removed. So there is a task for that as well. We have configure supplier registration and profile change request. So this is quite important task. We say what all elements are required when a supplier is registered, or what all elements are going to going to get approval triggered. So we have different elements. Address, if someone is changing address, someone is changing bank account, so it's a profile change request. So which element should trigger the approval? That is the uh, task. In this task we define this. Then acknowledgement, we have the concept of acknowledgement. Supplier can acknowledge the purchase order. Then supplier change order, I was telling you earlier that supplier can do the change order from their login, so it is called a supplier change order. Then we have ASN, advance shipment notice. This also can be created by supplier. Then supplier can respond to negotiation. Supplier can create invoice. Supplier can create invoice with PO or without PO. It means we can lot of the customer ask that we don't want that supplier should create a invoice without the PO. So we just remove that privilege so that supplier can only create a invoice where we have received it, or with whether I should say PO match invoice. So we should be clear on this concept. There is a profile management, means supplier can change their any of the elements on their profile. Then comes to SQM, the fifth one, supplier qualification management. We have supplier qualification role. We create questions, we create nested questions, we create rule sets, and then we have a lot of conditions in that. Only for that, this rule set works only for new suppliers. If we want to qualify the existing suppliers, then we need to create qualification area. We need to create initiative where we have assessment and qualification type of initiative. So, and one of the element is qualification model, where we have the outcome that it is sourcing selected or reject, means if this supplier is eligible to be pulled or invoked in my sourcing. So if it is ineligible, not eligible, then I will receive error message. I won't be allowed to move forward. So eligibility can be, outcome of eligibility can be eligible with warning, or not eligible. If it is not eligible, it won't allow you to proceed on the sourcing. But if it's warning, just a pop-up will come and you can proceed on that. Then last one is sixth module is procurement contract. So in procurement contract, we have this more role, procurement contract administrator. We need to define contract type to create any of the contract. We need to have clauses. We need to have terms template. These terms template can be utilized in different documents. So we can use them on purchase order. We can use them on BPA. We can use them on contract. So these are the actual templates. So let me tell you one of the requirement. When users say I need different type of terms and condition for my different POs. So we suggested, okay, create multiple terms template, and whenever you want different requirement, different terms and condition to be printed on the PO PDF, just pull this type of terms and template. So for different type of purchases, they are pulling different types of terms template, so that this terms and condition are getting printed on PO print, because this is the standard functionality. Whatever terms template, the clauses are present. These clauses come under the terms and condition at the end of that PO print. Then you can create a contract. You can, for this, you, for enabling this yourself to create anything, you need to be resource. So the first step is to create yourself as a resource, and that resource should be assigned to organization, and under that organization your business units should present. Otherwise you will not be able to create any of these elements, or I should say you will not be able to create terms template or contract if you are not resource in the organization. There is an additional functionality I can just discuss for a minute. Download and upload contract Word file. So when you create a contract, so you don't know what additional clauses, terms, the language you want to write, you can download that Word file and you can share with suppliers so that they can update it, write it completely, and then you receive it back. There is a track changes enable, you accept all the track changes and then upload. So everything, whatever is updated in the clauses, gets updated in the system for that particular contract. Then approvals. This procurement contract is the module which does not have FSM links or FSM task for approval configuration. We have to go through BPM for configuring its approval. It's the clause approval, contract approval, terms template approval, but only via BPM. Now, these are the additional topics which will add some confidence in our interview. We should be aware of data loads, FBDI, what all we can we load, item load, supplier, open PO, BPA, requisition, all these can be uploaded using FBDI, or much more additional elements can be done. We have spreadsheet load as well, like when you go to location on same page, you download that sheet and then fill that data and just click the upload button, it will get uploaded. So it's a spreadsheet loader. Then comes a map set as well. So as I discussed in the SSP part, for the punch out setup, we have the map set configuration. That is also kind of spreadsheet loader. We just click on that, a sheet will be downloaded, you fill the data and upload it. Then HDL, it's a HCM data loader. So we can create the rules, we can create the employees using HDL. It's a metadata and then it's element. So it's a kind of data load only. Then comes the FSM export import. Few of the setups we don't have any FSM, or sorry, we don't have any FBDI to load. For that we can use this functionality of export and import. Oracle has given very excellent functionality where we can just export the setups, fill those Excel files and just import in system. So all setups will be configured. Most of the third-party tools, config snapshot, R4C, these elements, these are the tools which are used for extracting data from one instance and uploading to other instance. So they use these kind of concepts. Then import and export functionality for creation of clause, terms template, contract, questions. We can utilize this functionality which is import and export functionality. Then approval rules migration. A lot of time we have hundreds of approval rules, creating them manually in one instance, then another test instance, or I should say from UAT to prod, creating them manually gives some fear that something can be messed up. So we can go to SOA page, export that, then we receive some kind of Java file, jar file, then unjar it, whatever we want to get loaded, we can load them all, and all the approval rules within it. It takes only 30-40 seconds. I will say in 2 minutes, you have everything in place. The time you take to create manually the hundreds of rules can be 5 days, but this is a 1 or 2 minutes job to import that jar file. Then we should be aware of sandbox. If you are aware of sandbox, it is added benefit. You are aware of how to rename the fields, how to use this EL expression using the sandbox. And then someone may ask, what all support tools, ticketing tools you have worked upon. So you can name Jira, ServiceNow, whatever you have worked upon, you can name them. Then implementation methodologies, you should be aware of basic about this TCM, true cloud methodology, which is going on right now. It is the cloud methodology. Earlier it was AIM on OUM. Then we have different phases and documents on different phases, like familiarization, FAM sessions, playback sessions. We call it PB0, PB1, PB2. Then SIT comes into picture, UAT comes into picture. And before UAT, we have the training sessions as well. User get training and then they do the UAT. Then we go for go live. Before that we have cutover as well, but yes, we go for go live, and then we go for the hypercare. Sometimes we have 15 days hypercare, 1 month hypercare, even 2 months hypercare. All depends on the client how they have done the contract signing with the organization. Then in these different phases, we have different documents like design document, we have CWB, which is config workbook, then we have test scripts, then we have SaaS. We should be aware of software as a service, product as a service, then infrastructure as a service. This difference we should be clear on. Any third party integration, if we would have worked out, this is an added advantage if it was integrated using OIC or SOA. So you can prepare yourself with these elements, and the basic knowledge of BIP reports is must. I should say you should always have the basic knowledge of SQL and how BIP reports are created just to extract the data. And you should be aware of quarterly upgrade patches. Every quarter Oracle is publishing the patches. So let me go through these screenshots, these locations. We have few important elements like inventory organization is attached or not. Then we have users. In this user we have which legal employer, which business unit this user is having, what is the roles. Auto provisioning role is also one of the concept. We can link or create the user accounts. Then we have business unit creation. Just four fields are required, but these are quite important. As I was saying, in default set, they have used US1 BU set, but if we use common, it is really good. We can use everything. Otherwise, if we use any other set, then there will be a restriction, or maybe a restriction which you may face later on. Then assign business unit, business function, which function is supported by this business unit and it's assigned to which ledger and legal entity. You come to know on this setup. Then manage or item organization. You create item organization and its parameter. Then you create inventory organization and then you set its parameter. And in inventory organization, you select a organization which is the item organization, item master organization, the one which we created earlier. What is the schedule? That means it's 5 day shift, 7 day shift. All you define in this. Then comes your unit of measure. First, we need to create class. Then we need to create unit of measures. So classes we create, then we create unit of measures, then we have the unit of measure conversions as well. Then configure requisition business function. At least we should be aware of that default delivered to organization. This is the inventory org, which is must to be defined in system. Any of the organization, or you can have the name, but yes, I am saying the org1 inventory org is required to complete this setup. Then you need to create a catalog that it's including all agreements and include all item master. This checkbox should be ticked if you want to utilize all the item master items, then from all categories. Similarly, in content zone, you pull that catalog, then you pull the smart forms that you have created. Then how do you create a category? This is the task. This where you create a category, functional area catalog, and in that you select your catalog in which you want to create the add the category. Just category name and code. We don't have multi segments in this category. We just have single field. In EBS we were having multi segments in category, but now we just have single field. This is the TAD which we were discussing, tab or TAD. So here we define accrual account, charge account, destination charge account, destination variance account, and variance account. These are the defaulting thing, and then we can override as per my segment overriding rule. We write accounting rule here. We can write a account combination rule, or we can write a segment rule. If we are going to utilize this as segment rule, segment overriding, then we need to have this segment rule. Then we have conditions as well in this account rule. So you should be aware of this mapping set as well. In rules, we can pull the mapping set. We have some input source, like we have input source this, then we go for this charge account. Then we assign it to subledger. So as we have assigned our GSE tab to our US primary ledger, similarly, we have to assign our tab to get that activated. Then set assignment this one, then procurement document numbering for all elements we define. Then for SSP, we discussed about this. So catalog requisition, we create catalog requisition. That means we have this item field enabled where we can pull the item from the item master. And non-catalog requisition, we don't have that item field. We just have item description. Then you have smart forms. You can define the smart form and you can pull the additional information templates. So here you can define it. You can say user editable or not, but yes, you should be aware of smart form. Then comes the content zone. In content zone, you pull that smart form, you pull those catalogs that we have defined. Then in purchasing, these were the elements we discussed. So when you create procurement agent, you give the access, full access to other agent. This is quite interesting thing. You should give focus on this area: full access, no access, none access, or whatever type of access you want to provide to which document, to this particular agent. Then line type, which I was saying, that a two-way is default provided by Oracle. If you want to default everything three-way, you need to update it as the, if I say goods, it should be three-way. So just update it three-way, save and close. Document style, a standard style, then purchase order, then blanket purchase agreement. So all the elements, complex, even complex work as well. So we define our style and here we enable. So if we have complex PO, then we have to enable the additional elements: retainage, progressive payment, work confirmation. Then supplier spend authorized. If we have supplier as a spend authorized, we have a few additional elements. Means they need to have sites. If it is not spend authorized, they will not have any sites. This is the screenshot of blanket purchase agreement, contract purchase agreement, a standard purchase order. We should be aware of what is the difference between all these three. This is the service provider relationship screenshot. Then configure procurement business function. We have few mandatory elements. This inventory organization is mandatory here. We need to have currency provided there. These are the two links which I was saying, these external registration link. Then sourcing, we have negotiation style. There are various elements for auction, RFI, RFQ. We need to select these uh, different checkboxes to enable the functionality. Then negotiation templates. Then we create cost factors. In SQM, we create questions. Questions can be multi-question, multi-choice with single selection or text box as per your requirement. We can have question branching as well. Then we create qualification areas. Under qualification area, we put the questions here. So these are the questions we can put. We can have the outcomes as well. Then we have the model. I was saying supplier eligible sourcing. This was the outcome. If it is eligible, or we have uh, we define it here that it's qualified, disqualified. So we enable this functionality here. So I was sorry, in this qualification model thing, if we enable this sourcing, supplier eligibility, then on next page you see the qualification areas we select, and then we select the outcome, that they are eligible with warning, or they are not eligible. Then rule set comes into picture. We can add the one qualification models which supplier will register. They will see all the questions in that model and their qualification can be initiated. And if we have different set of questions according to different condition, that if this is the supplier type, this is my qualification area, then qualification area can be defined here. Then we have this initiative screenshot. Now in procurement contract, we create contract type. And this is quite important. When you define a contract type, you say require signature. There is a functionality of signature, DocuSign. So you have to enable this. Then only this DocuSign will be enabled. There are various elements like term authoring. So all these things will be enabled only if you enable these checkbox. So if you don't enable these checkbox, this functionality will not be enabled. Then you are creating a clause, then you are creating term template. So all these things you should be aware of, at least 5 to 7 elements of each setup. That's why I'm just showing the screenshots. So when you create a contract, these are the elements it asks. Then this is the contract that we created. We have contract with line, then fulfillment, parties, deliverables. All these are appearing because I have enabled in contract type few of the setups. Thank you. Thanks a lot for watching. Uh,